Running Sentences presents The Long Road to Get Home, Part 7. Gateways. Escape is the only thing on the group ventured's mind, but will a portal drop them where they need to go this time? This story is written and narrated by Michael Honore. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are from the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright Michael Honore, 2024, all rights reserved. Langer has his hands around the ball, feeling the weight of it in them. But he is unable to wrest it away from Closier, and his strength is, not that great, and it is the one thing he regrets at the moment. Despite his opponent also being a rather spindly-looking thing, should be easy, but it is, it isn't. Hi, sorry, I need this back, and my friends will soon be joining me. If you could be so kind as to step aside and just give this to me? Never! Closer, with one hand, lets go of the ball while the other kept a tight grip. The free hand then points towards Langer's chest, with sparks coming off of this man's finger. I cast you too. An arrow ripples and retches at the top of his arm, just narrowly piercing it, but it does its job of stopping the spell as Closer's arm drops away, spell unfinished, as Langer makes another grab for the ball. Like I said, friends are nice to have and will be joining us, so please give that back. They wrestle for a moment more, and the ball finally manages to come out of Closer's hand. Need any help up here? He's a spellcaster with probably a few powerful spells. Be careful of him. Eerie has run up, with axe ready in hand, ready to swing at a moment's notice, and was closing in towards Closur, who now began backing away. You will all regret this. My judge friends will all see fit to doom you. Do they even know what you're up to? Yes, they do, Miss Eerie. Though the words are spit out, confidence was absence from the sound of his voice. That and the remainder of Venture were now up on the platform, with Langer tossing the ball over to Keith. They were closing the doorway, which can still happen without the ball, I believe. It's just to secure the area and seal it shut. We have to get through. We don't know where it will drop us, though. It could be home or somewhere else. Well, Barn, we don't have time to not take that risk, since the door is closing. We go or we don't. Keith, can you keep it open? Langer asked. I can try. Keith moves over to the side and holds his hand out to the stone gateway, which was built onto this platform. The stones had begun to glow red hot before he had even begun to do anything. We don't have much time, and I'm joining you guys. I'm going through that door. That Closur is going to come back with others. A bolt of electricity shot past Caddy, who just joined them, as she dodges backwards away from the edge of the platform. Need a couple of moments. This is ridiculous. We don't know where we are, and if this will work. But that's what we do, isn't it? Having an attack of questioning everything you've ever done, Barn? No, not even close, Harry. Claudia, are you coming with us or staying here? I don't think staying here is a choice. No, it probably isn't. But going with us probably isn't great either. Best to know where you stand, so we don't do anything bad. The rocks had turned to a cool blue, and the mist began appearing in the space where the door would go. Venture began to gather around while keeping an eye out for things. It's open as much as I can get it, guys. No idea where it's going to go to, though? I prayed for home, but who knows if the gods will actually answer that. Grabbing the ball from under Keith's arm, Langer was the first through, followed by Eerie and Caddy. The rest then follow, with the last one through being Keith. as the shock of magic followed him through the doorway. The group finds themselves in a swirling blue room that seems half hazy, half clear. Langer had taken a few steps forward, but not far. He didn't trust what he could see in front of him. It was there, but what was to trust? It was a room-like space that seemed to go on and on before them. A streak of something blue shot past all of them, followed shortly by a heavy rumble that shook the ground. Grabbing a hold of one another, they kept their balance, but also began to move, and then run through this room, which colors were now beginning to fade. I knew this was a terrible idea. Among all of our terrible ideas, Barn, why all of a sudden the questions? You like to go head first into things and fight them. I do not. I've always liked plans and trying to stick to them as best we can. When things are hectic and we are going by the seat of our pants, we get into these bad situations. We are always in bad situations. He glared towards Caddy for her comment. Yes, this is particularly bad, and has been since we got to that ball. Everything feels like it is falling apart when all we need to do is go home. It's not my fault the map got ruined in getting here. And what do we need to do with the ball in the first place? What's it even going to do for us? Well, we destroy it or open it when we get back, and it should unlock something, I think. Your plans, Barn, are not much better than us making it up as we go. It's how we got here, and what do you mean destroying the ball? Shouldn't we just do that? Our employer said that it had to be in our realm, so we need to get it home to work. That's the other reason I have such urgency to get back. The army of undead can only be stopped with it there. Eerie shakes her head as the run comes to a stop at a closed door before them. It is faintly glowing with a throb that seems to weaken with each passing moment. Well, I think we should examine it before we destroy it, and maybe get some knowledge off of it this time, so that we're doing the right thing. I was warned that would not be a great idea. Keith, our employer, said that if magic was detected on it, then it cannot be destroyed. Langer, shaking his head, reaches for the door handle. There was no time to spend in here, and as much as he'd like to talk, it seemed like a better idea to do it somewhere, at least a little safer. We can learn about that where we land, then worry about the stuff when we have time. This pathway, though? The blue hue that had made up the hallway glowed brightly was now really, really dim. It didn't look like it would last for much longer. Langer is right. We have to go, Eerie added on. With a look of worry, Langer took a moment to make sure that Barn was okay with this. Their leader was shaking his head, still unhappy even though he was being pushed forward by Eerie towards it. Though, since Langer was already turning the handle and pushing it open, a sucking sensation pulled the door out of his hand, and then just pulled the group out of the hallway. Thud, thud, thud. They hit a sandy dune and began tumbling downwards. It wasn't a big one, and the slide came to a quick stop at the bottom with each recovering after a moment. Where are we this time? Claudia roared upon seeing where they were. A place with a lot of sand which doesn't look remotely like home? My prayers went unanswered by God then, or maybe they dropped us where we need to be. It doesn't look like it, Keith. In fact, it appears that we're nowhere near civilization. Well, a perfect time then for Keith to examine the thing. Eerie points towards the ball, which was in Keith's hand since Langer had given it to him. Barn opens his mouth to object, but a spray of sand whipped by at that moment, making him look away. Well, that's settled then. I think I should go check out our surroundings. Well, take Caddy with you, please, and don't go far. I'm not a child. You disappear like one at the most inopportune times, so until you learn not to do that, you are treated like a child. With a shake of his head, Langer took off, headed up the dune, with Caddy not far behind him after Eerie's stinging rebuke. She and Claudia turned to Barn. As your second in command most of the time, I would like to be fully filled in on what you've been keeping a secret, Barn. You've gone suddenly very weird about all of this. It isn't a clean-cut, safe job as I made it out to be when I took it. Oh no, I figured that out. No job ever is when it comes to us, and something generally always goes wrong. What's so special this time? Well, our employer is, in fact, one of the dark underlords working for God, so he claims. Would I happen to know them? I don't know who you know, Claudio, so I can't answer that. Well, at least give me a name. That's what I'm asking for. Tuberculosis, or he's also known as the Dark Crawler, I think. Claudia raises an eyebrow at the odd name given to her, and slowly shakes her head no. I might know someone who knows of them if you're still on my realm, then we can maybe seek them out. If not, I don't know if I can help you. Who is it that you know, Claudia? Well, there is a man known as the Drunken Sailor. Eerie and Barn look about the sand dunes that made up much of the area. The area that wasn't rolling was flat sand, and that went on a bit before raising up into sandy hills and dunes again. Well, there doesn't appear to be much water around here for a person whose name is Sailor or calls himself that. Are they located in this area, or where exactly would they be located? And to clarify a few things, does your country, continent, or whatever have a sandy area like this? Yes, they're called the Wastes of Morrow, and might be where we have landed. As for where he is, well, my friend tends to move about and doesn't stay by the water. I don't know why he has that name, so don't ask. And you have a way of contacting him? Claudia digs into her bag and produces a small, stone-like object, holding it up. It only works in the same realm, though. I have things to report. The trio look over at Keith, who was sitting down with the ball in front of him. His hands, which had been roving over its surface, now came to a stop. He looks at them with a serious expression. Well, what is it, Keith? There is a curse placed on this ball, one that I believe means that it cannot leave the realm it is in. Then we are definitely still in my realm where we were? Keith gives a half-hearted shrug as Caddy comes sliding down the dune. We spotted a place not far away. Town-looking place. Couldn't tell if it was abandoned or not. You left Langer up there all on his own? No, he's right there. They turned as Caddy points up the dune unnecessarily. As expected, where Langer should be, they found him missing. The group hurriedly runs up the dune to look for him. At the top of this short-stacked sandy dune, they came to a stop and scanned for a moment. Eerie then looks down and spots him sitting on the sand a short ways from the top. He looks up at them. You didn't trust me, I see. No, not really, Eerie mutters. Thanks. As he got up from his spot, Caddy points off towards the distance. A few shapes of squarish in nature were a decent distance away from them. Over there. Well, that will at least let us orient ourselves if we go there. Any objections? It'll take a moment to make sure he had everyone's agreement, but then he turns to Claudia. About that stone-like thing in your hands? Oh, it's just a beacon. If I get close to him, then, it'll help show us the way, that we're near him at least. She held it up, and it seemed to have a soft glow to it, but faint. And so everyone agrees, and they begin to set off. The 6 of them trudged across the sandy dunes until they got to the mostly flat part. There they hurried as best they could to get across that. The sound was not cooperating, as it seemed to sink inwards with every step. Oh, we're almost there, Barn declared. The edges of the town had become visible as a dust storm began to kick up in the distance. It wasn't close by, but it did look like it wanted to move in their direction. It looks like there are some people out and about as well here. Claudia's cry made everyone look harder at the town to see that there appeared to be a few things moving about. If they were people or not, it was hard to tell, though at first it looked to be true. To the town we go then, since it's the only way to hopefully orient ourselves, and then hopefully that stone that Claudia has will help us as well, unless anyone has any other ways that they could do that. Well, I have a spell that can locate us, but it isn't prepared, nor do I think I have the components necessary for this. As Keith said this, the group continued their move towards the sand-covered town. With the sun setting at their backs, they walked into the little place. This little town of only a few blocks. There were a few creatures wandering about, though most appeared to be bestial in nature, not humanoid in nature. Eventually a big ox-like creature rumbles up on its 4 legs, stopping them on this packed-down road. "Who are you?" "Well, we're the adventuring group known as Wretched. We were tossed here by a portal door. Where are we?" Eerie said. "The lands of sand and on the dark realm." "That would explain why things are not so nice looking." The ox looked over at Barn with a bit of distaste as it spat off to the side. "We don't get many visitors out here." "Excuse me, but is this still part of the realm of the lost, right?" Claudia interjected. "Some might argue that yes. I don't know personally, since I've never left this area." "Then how do you know it's part of the dark realm?" "We do have creatures who know about history. We aren't some dumb things who pretend our town is the only thing that matters." We seem to be annoying you with our comments. This group is searching for where we are, and since you've told us that, thank you very much. And we're also looking for a man by the name of the Drunken Sailor. We will be on our way, unless you know of them, or have some shop that could sell us some goods." "Heard of them. I think I might be in the area. We, however, don't sell stuff to those we don't know, mostly because you don't have the right currency." Langer held up a gold coin and then a silver-looking one to see if they were the right currency, but the ox shook its head. "You clearly do not understand us. We trade in foodstuffs, grains, and veggies. You do not look like the type to carry such things." "Well, we do have some dried out ones, but I don't think you'd like them as much as fresh veggies. We aren't completely lost when it comes to a diet." The ox looked over at Caddy with a grimace. "Well, as Caddy says, we're trying to keep things balanced, but it isn't easy when you're always on the road. Can you perchance point us in the right direction to find this sailor person?" The ox turned around and then with its head pointed out towards the dunes that lie beyond the town. "Over there will get you closer to what you seek, I believe. Best to leave town now, though." "Is this place cursed?" Claudia asked. "No. Those that live here don't like strangers and suspect them of bringing all sorts of bad things our way, miss." "It wouldn't matter if we left town or not. If something were following us, they would potentially come here anyway to track us. They would get the blame even if we weren't here, Claudia. In fact, it might be better if we were here, just so we could help fight it." There was a slow shake of the head no from the ox. "Please move on, now, or you will be chased out." With no choice, Ventured corrals themselves and heads for the road out of this sandy dump. It only took them a good 30 or so feet before they were at the edge of town anyway, but they were still under the watchful eyes of all these creatures, and each of them seemed to stare and will them to get out of there. Up and down the sandy dunes they went, putting as much distance between them and the town as possible. The moonlit night offers a good amount of light for this leg of their journey, though it had slowed down thanks to the cold that had come over and the fact that they weren't sure where they were headed. The stone in Claudia's possession would glow occasionally, but never seemed to change much. "Claudia, please tell me you have some idea where this person might be." "Well, he's not actually a person. He is a fawn-like thing. I've never asked him what he is, since it seemed rude to do so. As for knowing where he is, well, all I have is the stone." "Great, fine. Where might he be? The mountains? The dunes? Sand? Land? Mud? Swamp?" "Like I said, Erie, he moves about. But when you're near him, you know you're near him. He has a big following that just follows him about." The sandy dunes gave way to a flat pit, and up ahead they could see signs of a tent city. It was a ways away, though, and most had sunk to sit down and relax for the moment. "Does it look kind of like that?" Barn would ask. "It could be, yes. I would only be able to tell from up close, and with this rock doesn't seem to be showing any difference, but I don't think I have the energy to go there right now." Barn glances around and nods. "Well, we'll rest and set off tomorrow. Hopefully this man really does potentially know how to lift a curse from the bowl and help us get out of here." Everyone settles in for the night at the bottom of this dune. No fire and only a bits and bobs of dried food to keep them comfortable. A watch during the night was an uneventful one, and morning would come all too soon. The group got up and scrambled their way through the flat desert to the edges of the camp city. It was a quiet walk, and even quieter as they arrived at the place. No signs of humans or creatures as they got closer to it. "It seems silly to say this now, but be on the watch out for anything that doesn't make any sense." This statement would earn Barn a few looks. Much of their journey hadn't made much sense in the first place, and they just entered into this encampment when they spotted a figure emerging from one of the tents, a rustic-looking man, beaten and worn by the sands of time. He came to a stop as he stretches and then looks them dead in the eyes. "Welcome, strangers. What brings you here?" "We're in search of the drunken sailor." "And you'd think he'd be here?" "This looks like a place he would stay at, and my stone is now rapidly glowing." The man hunches over as he comes closer to them from his tent. He seems undisturbed by their sudden appearance in the middle of the desert, which to venturers suggests that suspicious things were about to visit them. Each tenses themselves as they look about. "What would you need to meet him for if he was here?" "To lift a curse," Claudia proudly states. With a snort, the man nods. "Well, he's here all right. You just have to join the long line to go see him." Claudia merely nods and begins to look about the space, trying to spot a tent that her friend might stay in or something. Keith steps up to talk to the hunched man. "How long is the potential wait to see this man?" "Weeks, maybe a month. It's hard to tell at this point." "Wait, how many people are actually here?" "Well, not that many, really, but he says it takes time to figure out how he can help those that request it." "He's in that tent, right?" Claudia points off towards a run-down-looking one that's just off to the side. The man offers a shrug to her. "I wouldn't know anything about that." She, though, had already headed off towards it, so the rest of the group was quick to follow. Marching right up to it, Claudia came to a stop to flap the doorway into it. "Drunken sailor, are you in there?" A mumble of a noise comes out in reply, to which she grins and goes inside. The rest of the venture freezes up for a moment, trying to figure out if they should follow, stay, what should they do. This is solved as she emerges with a figure from the tent. "Everyone, this is my associate, ally, and all-around magical person, Drunken Sailor." "That's quite a name he's got," Erie comments wryly. Don't make fun of my name. It's what I've got in this world, and I won't let it go. Of course, sir, no offense was intended. Who are you, and why are you with this cursed individual named Claudia? Oh, we're an adventuring group who was sent on a quest to fetch a ball, and we have found it. And we have also found out that it's cursed, Barnes said with a bit of a pained expression on his face. It won't let us go home to our realm. That's the curse placed upon it. Keith holds out the thing in front of him as Drunken Sailor blinks a few times at them, and he steps a few steps to his right, unsteadily, tipsily even, then rights himself with a shake of his head. There is a line for such things, and your troop would have to join it to see me. You owe me, sailor. We skipped the line. I do not, Claudia. You do in fact owe me, and this is one small thing to repay that debt. The man points towards the ball with a hoof for a hand, his almost goat-like appearance coming away from the shadows of the tent. You think I can help you with that? That is what we're hoping for, sir. Is there a problem with that? Barn asks. Like I said, you have to get in line. Other than that, yes, plenty. Claudia grabs a hold of the loose shirt that Drunken was wearing and pulls him to look into her eyes. We're trying to save a world. Help out. Or what, Claudia? Or what? You will get my full anger for leaving me in that damned village. It was agreed upon that we look out for ourselves only. I only had to look out for me. You like to claim that since it absolves you of getting caught, and then you betraying me. There was a wave of a hoof towards her as he moves to try and get out of her grasp. She lets him go easily enough, and he again points towards the bowl. Do you even know what that is? Loosely, it's a bowl that will unleash some sort of magical thing, one that we need to fight an undead general, Barnes said helpfully. That thing will create hell on earth. I cannot and won't remove the curse placed upon it. It is our only hope of salvation. Our realm is in danger, and it will be overrun by someone who might come here and do the same thing here. The Drunken Sailor stares hard at Barn. And that is supposed to save the day? You really think that will work, opening up that thing? We don't have a choice, sir, at this point. It is this or our world dies. What would you have us do, Mr. Drunken Sailor? The man, like a goat, moved a few steps back towards the tent, which Claudia moves to cut off. He was not about to escape back into the tent, so he turned his attention to Keith, who had offered that little statement. Remove the curse on it, please. I'm not sure it is even a curse. It is purposefully put on there to stop bad things from happening. I don't know if I can lift that kind of spell. Well, can you at least look at it in a different way? All eyes shift towards Langer, who looks back surprised at all of the attention. He figured it would only draw the attention of the goat-like man. He waits a moment, taking his time with his words to make sure he gets them right. A curse or a spell, all depends on how you want to see them. There's a grumble from the Drunken Sailor, who looks over it, who shook his head. It's no use playing with words around me. I won't do it. Well, this is leading us nowhere, and we need to get out of here now, Barnes said. Know of anyone else, Claudia, who won't mind doing some bad to potentially do some good? Sorry, no, Aerie. There's a lull in the conversation as Drunken Sailor tried to silently keep stepping away from them. It wasn't working as both Caddy and Langer simply moved around behind him now, leaving 3 people behind him and 3 in front of him. It would be nice to have some answers, though, about that ball, and what you claim is inside, so, perhaps you could tell us something about it, Mr. Drunken Sailor? Oh, we probably shouldn't talk about that, Caddy. It is sometimes better not to know things. Why, Barn? Why should we not know about this probably incredibly dangerous thing that we've been dragging around? Barn waves his hand in a dismissive manner, trying to brush things off. Caddy, though, steps closer to them, but keeping herself behind Drunken Sailor, and stares Barn down, trying to get him to answer the question. All I know is what we already know. There are things in there that if they got out and aren't controlled, it would be bad. It's still a risk that we have to take, though. Do we have to take it, Barn? Yes, we do. There is no choice in the matter, Keith, since everything might end if we don't. A lot of you and all of us already know this. And what exactly is in that ball? Magic? An army of demons? Or what do we know specifically? Langer would ask. Do you know anything, Drunken Sailor, without having actually examined the ball? All I know are rumors, not specifics, and me examining the ball's not going to get you any closer. What we know is that there are demons and his generals potentially inside. All powerful dead creatures who are just rumored to be inside, Barn would say after a moment of thinking about it. Great, Barn, thanks. And once that's opened, who's going to send them back? There was a clear grimace on Barnes' face to Langer's question. Our benefactor who hired us said he had his ways. So that's no way of sending them back, and that's why you went to see them alone about taking up this job? No, Erie, they approached me when I was alone, not the other way around. I was going after a different one when this one fell into our lap. You were threatened about it, weren't you? Langer said with a sigh. There may have been promises of threats, but none actually occurred, and I took the job with the hopes of saving the realm. With a demon. We've all done things that could be construed as bad or evil, Keith, and they were generally in an effort to make ourselves a bit money. How is this any different? Venture falls silent, with a lot of head scratches and glances about to one another. None wanted to speak up on this moment. Well, I guess maybe if you really want to save a world, you really do need that curse removed on it. Without a doubt, yes, sir. It won't let us cross over and likely will drop us right back here as a result of trying to get back home. That is, unless Keith got the spell wrong, Barn said. I did not, but prayers do sometimes go unanswered. I can't control when that sort of thing happens by the gods. Well, if you leave me alone after all of this, and promise that you are really going to leave me alone, then I will look at the ball. I, however, make no promises about lifting any curses or spells placed upon it. Well, I can confirm already that a spell has been placed on it. I can tell you that much, and it rejected my attempts to pry into it, Keith said. The Drunken Sailor nods as he glances about the group, trying to see if they would agree to his terms. Since there were nods, yes, he takes the ball in his hooved hands, balancing it carefully and raising it into the morning sky. Everyone waits for a moment with bated breath. It does not want to let me look inside, but I have an idea you might not like. What is it, sir? Barn asks a little nervously. Seeing into the ball from the outside is not possible, but, You want us to go inside, sailor? Claudia states. Precisely. Do we have time for that? No longer we don't, but, from the look on this helpful drunkard's face, that might be the only way to actually lift this spell. That raises the question of if something is trying to keep itself inside instead of a curse being placed on the outside, right? Yes, as, Miss Erie, I think you said your name was, or your friends said your name was, it is quite likely that this is the case, but there is no way to tell for sure unless you know when you go inside. There were more than a few exasperated long sighs all around the group, and then one by one they shared a look of resignation as they stood around. "How do we know you won't do anything while we are in there?" Barn asked. "Well, Claudia trusts me." "Used to." Well, if you lot will just need to trust me, then go into the ball and figure this out, and I'll keep you safe for now." This trust was at an all-time high between this group, who all stood around trying to size up the situation and each other. "Well, how do we even get in there?" Eerie growls towards the drunken sailor. Holding up a ball, a swirl of wind suddenly erupted, encircling them in dirt and dust and sand. Each put up their arms, protecting their faces from the onslaught, as a blinding light followed, keeping them from seeing anything. End of Part 7 of The Long Road to Get Home. Thank you for listening.